Welcome to the Quilty Friends podcast with your host, Johnny Barfus. Today my guest is Brett Lund, and here's Johnny. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Quilty Friends podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Brett Lund.
Hello.
Thanks for coming back.
As always.
It's on our calendar to do this every Tuesday, but I wanted to really introduce you more in depth to people.
Perfect.
So people can get to know you better as well. And we can learn more about your mental health journey.
Excellent. Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yes. I'm
okay.
I believe in mental health.
Mental health is a thing. I believe in it too.
Yes.
I believe in doing something good for our mental health as well.
Self-care.
Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, how would you like to be introduced? Your name's Brett Lund.
I'm Brett. Yeah.
Okay, Brett. And what do you do?
Let's see. I work for the University of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a skills trainer.
Skills trainer.
Okay. Yes. And yeah, I mean that's
what you
job.
do.
That's what I do.
But what do you love?
I love crafting in the paper arts world.
You love making.
Yes. Yes, that is my passion.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to try to ask more people is what do you love? Not necessarily what do you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing from Brene Brown that she talks about. So, yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay. So, how do we know each other? We met online.
I
think.
I was going through a divorce.
Well, that's how we met. Yeah, that's the first time we met, huh?
Yeah, and you had a room that was available to rent.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a room, and a friend had reached out to a group, and you had mentioned you had a room. And I remember I came and interviewed you.
The interview.
The interview, yes. And I was so nervous because I'm like, oh, I needed a room. And I was able to move in.
Right.
And it was great.
We just clicked, though.
I
think. Yeah.
We've really clicked.
Oh, man. We won't talk about the divorce. That's fine.
Yeah. And the thing
was
been
a rough few years for you.
Yes. Oh, my heavens. Yes. It's been crazy. But, I had actually followed you before even before we met because I loved your design style.
Oh, on Instagram.
On Instagram.
I think
and I love how you do color. I'm really, really connected to color, and I loved a lot of your style. So
thank you.
Yeah. So
So Brett was my roommate for how long was it? Just
a year.
Only a year, huh?
It was a year. Yeah.
It
was wonderful.
It was a great year.
It was a great year.
Yeah. It was a really good landing place for Brett to get on his feet and go through that divorce. Yeah. Blessed divorce.
Yeah. Which was, it happens. So, but
it does happen.
It was. I felt very, very safe here. I felt, dare I say, I felt loved. I felt very welcome. It was a very, and that's how I've always felt when I come here. With you and your dogs and with your sister and I feel very, I feel very, very, I feel loved.
I like that.
I think that's a great word. Yeah.
I'm glad to know that. I'm just moving this closer.
No
kind of speaking quietly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's okay.
I can speak a little bit louder.
Just enunciate a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing up on our topics is something to think about. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem.
I apologize, but thank you.
My pleasure.
It was really my pleasure to have you here. Brett is an amazing cook, organizer, baker, chef.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So he makes the most delicious pumpkin roll, and Susie and I just beg him every time we see him.
Yeah.
Please. So he brought us a pumpkin roll last week, so we probably won't see you again for a minute, but that's okay.
That's okay. I enjoy doing it.
Yes, so good.
Yeah, it's good. That's one of my things. We talk about things we love. I love making stuff with my hands. It's funny because I think I can bake really, really good, but for me, I think it's just the passion that goes into it that I love the most.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of your love languages too.
Oh, very much so.
So someone commented, a neighbor met my friends. So my neighbor lives over there. Oh, you know the neighbor with the cute kids.
Yeah.
He was talking to my friends that one of my Christmas evenings, you know.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, Johnny's always bringing us soup and treats. And
Yep.
she's like, that sounds about right. That's one of my love languages,
Yep.
is especially neighbors. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you want to be neighborly. So
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that about you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your sharing your gifts with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I wanted to, something to smile about or think about. You can probably read this better than I can with your glasses on. But this was from Upworthy that I got this. It says author goes viral after book signing fail. So she wrote, only 2 people came to my author signing yesterday, so I was pretty bummed about it, especially as 37 people responded going to the event. Kind of upset, honestly, and a little embarrassed. So she tweeted that, you know.
Yeah.
And then Stephen King sees it and he says, "Dear Chelsea Banning, when you do your next signing, let us know. We'll let everybody know." So that's from Stephen King, the author.
I love that.
And then another author joins in. Margaret Atwood says, "Join the club. I did a signing to which nobody came except a guy who wanted to buy some Scotch tape and thought I was the help." Smiley face. So, and then I love that. And then the next one is from Neil Gaiman, and he says, "Terry Pratchett and I did a signing in Manhattan for Good Omens, and nobody came at all. So you were 2 up on us." And so then after that, this is her book, The Crowns of Legends. Her book went viral. I don't know how many she sold or anything like that,
Wow.
but it's just cute that people like that. I love when people like that
Yeah.
just give a leg up or, you know, give a hand up to someone.
Yeah.
Especially someone like Stephen King, you know, he's been around for how long and still writing. And anyway, I love that so much.
Well, and the thing that I think I like so much about that is once again, it is normalizing. You know, sometimes we think that it's a failure.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, okay, welcome to the club.
Right.
You know, you have all these great authors are like, yeah, okay, welcome to the club. And I think with mental health, you know, I was talking to a friend this past week and she was talking about how she was feeling. And I said, you know, the thing with my mental health is that I have learned from going to a therapist. I'm going to an amazing therapist now, is by shedding light on it.
Mm-hmm.
It brings it out of the darkness.
Yep.
And it takes away all the power that it had.
Yes.
And that's that. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even like things that we make mistakes and mess up.
Right.
Because, I mean, she could have just sold, but,
yeah,
you know, and that's why I love that's why I love what you're doing about mental health and talking about it and making things normalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think definitely we always think that we're the only ones that do that. Like, oh, surely I'm the only one that failed this way, or I'm the only one that did this thing. It's not true. Like everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. We're not alone here.
Nope.
So thank you for that. I appreciate
my pleasure.
it. All right. So to making, what is your earliest memory of making with your hands? Do you have an earliest memory?
You know, some of my memories, okay, I remember that I was always the kid in elementary school that I always loved when we do art. And not only art, but I would always 1-up or 2-up, or, you know, when we do an art project, I always did the over the top, you know, very much. Let's add, you know, if we're going to add a little spark of glitter, I was adding the whole thing of glitter. And not only that, I mean, that was me in school, but I've created a lot of stuff with my dad. My dad he's done woodwork for my whole life. And I remember asking my dad multiple times to have him home. I remember the projects through the years of him working with me in the garage and even with my grandpa. I remember one summer I went and stayed with my grandpa for a few weeks and we made stuff. Just that making and connecting. So yeah, it's always been a part of me. So
yeah. That's funny that you mentioned it, because that brings up something that I remember from my childhood. Is my dad was very entrepreneurial, so he always had like his 9 to 5, but then he seemed like he was always trying to do something on the side to make a little more money or just invent something else, you know. So one of them was train whistles. You know, those little train whistles that are wood and woo, woo, you know. So he wanted me to, oh man, I hated it so bad, but so he helped me to make the train whistles. So we got these blocks of wood And he had the saw and the jig and the drill and all these things, you know.
Yeah.
And I made the train whistles. He assisted me in making the train whistles. And we got a stamp and rubber stamped them. And then we would go to these parades in the summer, like up to Brigham City or Heber City, where they had trains and stuff. And he wanted me to go sell them to people. And I was so shy, so deathly shy, that I just hated the thought of talking to people. I mean, just the thought about talking to strangers like that scared me to death.
And as a kid, holy cow.
I know. But looking back, it was really cool that he was always doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that really taught me to get outside of myself, especially. But yeah, the making with him though was, that was priceless. You mentioned that.
Yeah, and I look back at now the time that I spend with my kids, and I think some of my most favorite memories is just doing stuff with them.
Right.
You know, I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, when I'd work on a report or a project, or I remember one of my kids when he was in junior high, he had a teacher who it was an English class, and clearly the English teacher really, really liked the artsy fartsy type of projects.
Okay.
And so I remember one time I thought, oh, if she wants arts, we're giving her arts. I pulled out the vinyl and the glitter and the markers and everything. And then I asked her, I said, so how'd you do? He's like, yeah, it went over the top. She actually saved it and put it on the board as an example. I'm like, and goodness. There we go.
Yes, success.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're so good friends, because, you know,
right?
If some is good, then a lot is better.
Absolutely. Over the top.
Yes. How can we do it just a little bit more over the top?
Yeah, right? Let's just add a little bit more, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Right.
It's fine. That is too funny. So is there, relating to making then, is there a specific like time or event that you noticed that was actually helping you with your mental health?
You know, okay, well, like right now, okay, it's been a crazy time these past few years. And it's interesting because I had kind of I've always done crafts, you know, and in fact I had worked for a craft company here in Utah that's gone out of business, and I had done things on Good Things Utah and Studio 5, and I had done conventions. And so it's always been this huge part of me. So, you know, very much I feel like I'm what it is for paper as what it is for you for quilting.
Yeah.
And so these past few years have been kind of crazy with my life. And I just put all of that basically, unfortunately, I kind of put on the back burner. And I think, and this is what I was discussing with my therapist the other day, and I mentioned that I think sometimes when we're going through a hard time, our self-care gets put on the back burner, and then we don't realize that we're in such a crummy shape.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, case in point, I haven't done a lot of my crafting stuff for quite some time. And then this past weekend, I'm like, I'm just going to take some time for me. And I sat down and I'm starting to work on a Valentine's gift for my boyfriend. And I can't say what it is because he watches these as well. And
sorry.
But before I knew it, you know, I started Saturday evening, and before I knew it was like 2:00 in the morning. And I was just crafting. And I had mentioned to my therapist, I said, you know, it feels so good. It's almost like a warm blanket, that it's like, you know, it almost feels like it's good to be home. Or even like last week, just sitting here when we were, when you were working on your shirt and I was just cutting out my denim squares, just working with your hands, you know. And, you know, it was interesting because I think some of that has to do with the fact that I'm making something and I'm knowing that it's going to someone,
right? That
I'm giving a part of myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, you know, so I'm that for me is very much of, you know, and I realize now that part of self-care is in fact probably the thing that has kept me going
right
throughout all these years.
Yeah, that's neat. I read just somewhere today, I can't remember what it was, sorry. I know you guys are shocked and surprised. But it was said the same thing basically, like that, just that time, taking that time to do something with your hands, like sewing, knitting, crafting, whatever it is. It slows down everything. It helps you to slow your breathing. It helps you to, but it helps to also to oh, that's what it was. Thank you. It was like we get lost in our own thoughts so much. And I'm an overthinker. We've mentioned this before. Like
Guilty.
I am an overthinker.
Yep,
I can overthink like no business, you know. And just that process of doing something different, doing something with your hands, doing something that kind of is mindless, but like, yeah, it also takes you out of your mind. It helps you to stop thinking about those things that you're worried about or whatever. And that's what I really enjoyed the past few weeks, is being able to start sewing again and working on some crazy projects. Like I'm making a shirt. I'm going to show those in a little bit.
Which looks really good, by the way.
A shirt and my coat. You didn't see the coat yet. No. That was on Sunday. So, but it takes you out of your mind enough to get out of your way, I think. That's what I like, is like get you out of your own mind and your own like those. Anyway, those cyclical thoughts, I call it.
Yeah, I love that. And see, and also for me that I've learned is my whole life I have always said, okay, well, I'm going to save this paper for a special occasion. I'm going to save this glitter or this stamp set or this ink pad for a special occasion. But then I never end up using it.
Yeah. So can you move your head just a little bit that way so people can see all the fabric that's saved for a special occasion? All that fabric saved for a special occasion.
And, you know, like a few weeks ago, I thought, you know what? I'm missing out on these special occasions. And so it's like, so with this project that I'm doing, I pulled out the good paper.
Oh, nice.
I pulled out the stamps. I pulled out the stuff. And it's like, now is the time.
Right.
Not in the future. And yeah, I understand about saving things for special occasions. But I think, you know, if we only think in the future part versus now, I think we miss that.
Oh yeah,
you know. And for me, that was a huge, almost this enlightenment of like, oh, well, look at this and look at this. And so that's why I say when I was crafting, I just kept on going, because I was like, oh, I forgot I had this. And yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I have a friend. His name is Molly Sparkles. How's that for a name?
I love that.
He lives in Australia, but he's a quilter, and last year he did the Cut It Up Quilt Along. So he's like, stop saving all of these fabrics for some special project that's never coming. Just cut it up and enjoy it and make something fun with it. So that's what I've been working on. My sister wanted me to cut something the other day, and it's like, no, we can't use that yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
I hoard the good fabrics for the ones that I really think are some special something.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the same thing with me and paper.
Yeah.
And with my stamps and my ink pads and my pens. I mean, I've got so many Copic markers, and I've got different ink pads, and it's like, okay, and that for me, it was almost like I was afraid to go into my craft room, because it was almost, and I know this sounds silly, but it was almost as if the materials were screaming to me that they were sad that they weren't being used. I know that sounds kind of quirky.
No, I like that. That's awesome.
You know, and so it's like when I go in there, it's almost like my safe haven.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, I turn on my Broadway show tunes, you know, and then I just craft. And it was almost like, you know, in a roundabout way, my craft room was welcoming me back.
Right.
Which, you know, is great for my mental health.
Use me.
Exactly. Exactly.
But in a good way.
In a good way. Yes.
I love that. So that's what you've been doing very recently is diving back in.
Yeah.
Right. Because you didn't do much when you were living here.
No, I started doing stuff, you know, like I did an advent calendar for my kids. And I did the Halloween advent calendar as well, but not so much because
okay,
it's crazy.
We got to talk about all the advent calendars really quick. So he did a Christmas countdown calendar, of course, which was 25 days, right? And then also you did a Halloween countdown calendar, which was 31 days. And then there was the Valentine's countdown calendar, which is 14 days. Any more countdown calendars?
Well, I would always do one that's very similar to like back to school.
Oh, okay.
So I do like little things here and there. Yeah. I haven't done any for a while. I'm kind of advent calendar burned out, actually.
Well, I mean, when you're doing that many and that
Yeah.
extensive, I mean, he was anyway.
It was crazy.
So talk about over the top as far as treats. Oh, I have a present for you. Remind me, I have a present for you before we go.
Sounds good.
It's in the kitchen. Remind me.
Perfect.
So over the top gift giver. That's what I love about you.
Well, thank you.
So awesome.
Yeah. Clearly gifts are my love language. And it's always
Right.
funny because I feel like when I do gifts and even more so when I make something,
Mhm.
it's like I'm giving a part of myself.
Oh, exactly.
You know, and it's like for example, when I make cards, okay, I just don't give a handmade card to everybody because there's certain people that I know they're gonna read it and toss it.
You have to be card worthy.
Card worthy, exactly.
Yeah, we call it being quilt worthy.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know, as a crafter, you know the time and the effort and everything that goes
Right.
into it. And so when someone sees it that understands that,
Yeah.
they understand the value of it.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, you know, because I'm very big into Copic markers and coloring and shading and doing lots of paper art stuff. So and it takes time. So
Yeah, it
you get
does.
that, you know, with doing quilts. So,
Right. You have to be card worthy.
Card worthy, yep.
So if you're not receiving a handmade card from Brett, you know why right now. Because you don't
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Which is funny because I mean, if I wanted to, I could go down to Dollar Tree and buy a card for $1.25.
Right. Or have you seen the handmade cards at Costco?
I have.
That's a shout out to Roz, my friend Dave and Roz. She likes those handmade cards from Costco.
You know, I'm not saying anything about it, but for me, I just did this past year. I realized that I can't do cards at Christmas time. I realized a few years ago that I get so overwhelmed, and this again has to do with my mental health. I get the crafty bug, as I call it. And in October, I have these grand visions of everything I'm going to craft for the holidays.
Right.
And so that's in October. And then November comes along and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going to get the stuff. We're going to get the stuff. And then as soon as December 1st comes, it's like, boom, all my time is gone.
Yeah. And
then as I get closer to Christmas, I start to get stressed out because I'm thinking, crap, I haven't done anything. You know, I mean, I'm a big person who loves to send out homemade cards. Now, everyone out there, or not everyone, but a lot of people now are just doing it, you know, upload the pictures and just have it printed off. Not me.
No,
not me.
Can't do that.
We have to do a handmade card, which again adds to the stress. So a few years ago, I said to myself, okay, if you haven't started by November 1st, you are not allowed to craft. You're not allowed to start anything
You're not
new.
allowed to start.
If you haven't started something, it ain't gonna happen.
Okay.
And so one of those things was for me, and this I figured this out last year, was I was still wanted to send out cards. And I did have a friend quite a few years ago, that they wouldn't send out Christmas cards. They actually sent out Thanksgiving cards. And so I decided, being gay, I was gonna send out pride cards.
Oh, that's right. That's why I got a pride card.
That is why you got a pride card.
Oh, that's cute. That's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so for me, I'm still able to use my talents and my efforts, but I'm able to stretch it out so I don't feel like a basket case in December.
Right.
Because I haven't done.
Nobody needs that.
Because I haven't done my cards. And then in June, when it's Pride Month, it's kind of like a little breath of fresh
happy
air.
surprise.
A happy
in the spring.
Yeah. So
I did that one year. You mentioned Thanksgiving. I did that one year when I did fall presents instead of Christmas, because I made my apple butter that year.
Yeah, I was here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So I did apple butter and pear butter. I love to make apple butter and pear butter,
which is really good.
And then I just bottled it, canned it, and gave a card in November to the neighbors, October, November, rather than December.
Yeah.
So I like that. It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
My pleasure.
All right. You've mentioned self-care a few times. What do you like to do for self-care?
Okay. So self-care, well, for me, it's lots of things depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes my self-care really is giving myself permission to sit down and watch 15 minutes of something, just frivolous thinking.
Right.
Other times I'm reading actually 3 different books currently right now. I like to read. So for me, that's really good with self-care. Also for me is paper arts, is getting down to crafting. You know, I love designing. I have a silhouette, and so
Mm-hmm.
I love playing around with my silhouette and designing, card making, that kind of stuff. I love cooking.
Yes.
So I think for me, I'm a big. I like to play around and figure out what kinds of things I like to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when I worked for Robert's Arts and Crafts here in Utah, I had to try lots and lots of crafts because
Mm-hmm.
Robert's Arts and Crafts just wasn't paper arts.
Yeah, they were everything.
They were like, you know, your local Michaels. And I learned that I don't do things with thread, and I don't do sewing and
Mhm.
cross stitch. That I can't do. I can't paint worth beans unless it's a simple color that doesn't require much thought to it. Jewelry I thought was really kind of fun, but I don't have the patience to beading.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, I'm not making fun of any of those crafts, but I'm grateful that I was able to try them out and learn what, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm thoroughly excited that I have the opportunity to work on the denim quilt,
Mm-hmm.
because I've always wanted to learn how to sew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a believer of trying new things.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I have been working on. Well, I thought about it the other day. I was feeling pretty good in my life, you know, and I thought, well, I'm eating healthy. I'm going to the gym again. I'm drinking lots of water.
Very good.
I'm been hiking every day in the mountains almost.
Nice.
The dogs love that canyon.
Yeah.
We've been going almost every day up Mueller Park.
Yeah.
So
I saw the pictures you posted of the winter. That was gorgeous.
Beautiful up there.
Yeah.
But it's not only. I think you have to do all the things. I like there's a meme out there that's like, we're basically a house plant with emotions. You know, we need water, we need sunlight, we need exercise. Plants don't need exercise, but you know, move your body a little bit,
Yeah.
and all those things contribute to having a good, healthy mental health.
I agree 100%.
But I'm also been in this spot where I haven't done any of those things, and I just have enough energy to take the dogs for a walk or a ride, you know, like.
And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that is all. Like, I felt like that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really long day at work,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, I need to come home. I made dinner. I mean, I didn't even do the dishes, which for me is like a no, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's.
Did you know it says Lori Allred up there still? You pointed that out, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, good night, nurse. Hey, you guys, this is not Quilty friend Lori Allred. You may already know that by now. Oh, good night, nurse.
This is real. This is real. The real McCoy.
Oh my gosh. I seriously just changed it.
Well, there we go. See?
You have to start over again?
Nope. We're embracing the imperfections.
You guys, I'm Johnny Barfus, and I have imperfections.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning how, when I have an imperfection, to make it, how to deal with it versus,
right,
having a hot mess. And, I know one of my dear friends, he knows this very, very true. When I made something, funny story. I made a dish a few months ago for him, and the potatoes weren't cooked. The
raw potatoes.
The Brussels sprouts were overcooked. And I had like 2 bites of it, and I grabbed the whole thing, grabbed his plate, walked into the kitchen, and threw it all in the garbage. And he's like, I wasn't done. And I'm like, we're done.
We're done.
We're done.
Pizza along the way.
Yeah. So that's why I say, now it's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Oh, I've been there. Been there.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And that's why I say that's part of me embracing the imperfections. One of my friends that I follow, she calls it perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Well, I am today for sure. All right. So we talked about self-care. Well, you talked a little bit about what you're working on right now, but we can't really talk too much about it because it's a Valentine's.
Because it's a Valentine's, yeah. I'm a believer, as you see. I don't like to procrastinate when it comes to the holidays.
Right.
I'm usually like a few holidays ahead.
Oh.
So I've been kind of planning this, and the way how my brain works is because of my ADHD stuff. When it comes into my brain, I have to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it just will sit there like a record and just go around and around
Right.
and around. And so usually what I'll do is I'll write it in my notebook. I have a notebook that has my ideas, or write it into my phone. And then when I have time, then I go work on. And that's what I've been doing with this.
Oh, nice.
And then and the thing that I love is I'll put it down and then revisit it in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And think, oh, okay, well, I could add this, or if I don't like it, I'm like, yeah, okay, that doesn't just fit with me.
Right.
I mean, you get that with certain colors. You're like, granted, you have like color theory,
right?
Certain colors just naturally don't go good together,
right?
But sometimes I'm crafting. I'm like, I really, really do want this, and it's like, yeah, that didn't work.
That's not working.
Yeah. So,
right on. All right. Well, lastly, I think we can go to lastly, right? Is there a cause that you are passionate about that if everyone who watched this sent $1, who would it be? What would that cause be?
Okay, so I don't have a specific organization that I follow, but I am very, very passionate about men's mental health issues.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so like, for example, depression, sexual abuse, even just partner abuse. I think there is such a stigma, and I have felt this my entire life, that we have to be strong.
Yeah.
That we can't cry.
Yeah.
That you have to be, you have to be the strong one. And unfortunately, in my life, with all the problems that I've had to deal with, that is how I truly have felt for quite some time, like we have talked about. And I think, kind of like I said earlier, I think by bringing light to these things, it's like, it's okay for men to cry.
It is okay for men to cry. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. And it's okay for men to say, like, I need a hug.
Yes. Okay, I love that. And I'm going to I was going to save these for another time. I'm going to send them back to you. I'm going to share them now because I feel like they're very appropriate. So just give me one. Oh, that's the other one. Hold on. I know, people, bear with me for 1 second. Oh, not that. Keep talking, Brett.
So yeah,
tell them a funny story.
Okay, no problem. So no, going back to the passions, I think, and it's not just with men's health issues, but I think it's the things that sometimes are the things in the shadows.
Yes.
I think sometimes we need to be able to walk into that darkness. Heavens, I explained quite a lot of my life with you, and I'm so grateful for you being that ground that I could walk into that darkness. And I think, and that's why I say, so the cause that I'm passionate about, I think, of course, is men's health issues, but also is just talking about those things that are sometimes uncomfortable topics.
Right.
And that's what I love that you're doing this podcast, because that is what you're doing, is you're talking about that. And that's, I would say probably that's, for me, that's the biggest thing.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me, people, friends, neighbors. I just had read these earlier and I thought I'm going to save them, but I'm going to share them right now. Not that one, though. Not that one. Okay, I think it's this one. So this was kind of cool. The The first one was some years back. I'm going to take away your name there really quick, just so it's not. Okay. Some years back, my wife and I got into the habit of asking each other, do you want comfort or solutions when the other was having a bad time? That one sentence can save us from an argument 9 out of 10 times. I have a friend that if I reach out to her, this is what she'll say. She's like, okay, so do you want listening ear or solutions? Which one do you want?
I love that.
And especially I think for men, so we have the tendency to be fix it up chappy, right? How can we fix it?
Fix it.
Let me fix it.
Yep.
My friend called it fix it up chappy. Jenny. Shout out to Jenny.
It's brilliant.
Fix it up chappy. So we don't always have to be the fix it up chappy.
Nope.
Sometimes it's okay just to be the listening ear.
Yep.
So I highly, highly, highly recommend that.
Yep.
One of the next comments was, that's smart. To the commenters who say you can do both, I just say it's not about you, what you can do. It's about what your spouse wants or needs right in that moment. Problems come, problems go. Solutions matter far less. That just being there for the other in the way that they need you.
Oh, so good.
This one is, we use, do you want a hug or some help? But it's the same idea. I like to use the hug.
Yep.
This one, I've started using variations on this. Would you like opinions or just to be heard? How can I best support you right now? Do you want to brainstorm or for me to just listen? Also not being afraid to ask for a pause to cool off and come back. So that's what I kind of noticed with some people in my life are like, they just want to give the solutions, and I'm like, no, I just want to vent right now, and I think it's okay. That's one thing that I can do better is saying, hey, I can just use a listening ear right now. Could you just listen to me for a minute? Yeah. I just want to vent for 10 minutes. So shout out to my cute sister, Susie, I
love her.
So Susie really likes to, she really likes to join me when I'm upset. She really wants to rally around me, like, let's jump on that bandwagon. I'm like, no, I don't want a bandwagon right now. I just want to vent and get it out and be over or be done with it.
Yeah. One thing I love that. Another thing that my therapist asked, because I was very much, I would just vent. And he pointed out, which I think is brilliant. He pointed out that set a timer and say, I'm going to vent for 10 minutes. And he's like, if you're going to vent, he's like, you have two solutions. The first solution is vent, just a vent to get it off your chest. The second solution is vent with a solution in mind.
Right.
And for me, that has been so like energy shifting because it's like, every now and then, when I talk to individuals, I'm like, I just need 10 minutes. I'm just going to vent for 10 minutes.
Right.
And then when I'm done venting, I'm like, okay, move on.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Exactly.
And I mean, I love that. And I love listening. My grandpa, I love him to death. My grandpa had a favorite phrase and he said, basically, there is no harm in keeping your mouth shut.
Right.
Which if you really stop and think about that, sometimes that's the smartest thing to do is just
keep your mouth
shut and listen. Yeah.
Sometimes we have a hard time with that.
Very much so.
Sometimes me.
Guilty.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Me too.
Okay. So there's not back to a specific cause. Men's health. Men's mental health.
Men's mental health.
All right.
Yep.
Now, if anyone has a solution, not a solution. If anyone has a suggestion for maybe a organization or a movement or I don't know. If you have a suggestion about someone that is helping out with mental health, we'd love to hear about it. Put in the comments of this video. We'd love to share it.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to share, Mr. Brett?
No, thank you. I always love, you, Johnny, are like a warm blanket. I know I've said that before, but it's like,
we don't need to make that about me.
There's those people that just make you feel good.
Oh,
that's what I'm making reference to.
Thank you.
I
appreciate that.
And I love that about you. It's just, I know that with you just make me feel like a good person.
Well, so thank you. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. Well, another episode of Quilty Friends. Thank you. This is Quilty Friend Brett Lund, not Quilty Friend Lori Allred. I can't believe that. You even said her name in the beginning. I don't know. I didn't pick up on it. Okay. Oh, I want to share really quickly what I've been working on. I finished my shirt.
Oh, I love it. Very nice.
buttonholes, and buttons.
Nice.
Did you see the rainbow buttons I did?
I love the rainbow buttons.
Rainbow buttons and a rainbow buttonholes as well.
And if I remember, didn't you say that these buttons were the buttons that your sister brought from Spain?
Yes, Susie brought a collection of buttons from Spain.
Yeah.
She went to Spain a couple of months ago, and she brought all these tons of buttons. Oh, they're all in a bowl. I should show the bowl. Let me show the bowl really quick. I said, let's put them in this trifle dish, because who doesn't just love?
Oh, right.
Who doesn't love running their hand through the bowl of buttons?
Yeah.
So I put them in that bowl. People have put their hands through them several times already.
We'll call them therapy buttons.
They're therapy buttons. They just are relaxing, and everybody likes to do that with buttons, right?
Yeah.
I want more, though.
I was going to say.
I want more buttons.
More buttons. And
then on Sunday, I put together this quilt coat.
Ooh, wow.
So
that's gorgeous.
I picked up last episode with Lori. I talked about the hand quilted quilts at the Savers.
Wow.
And if you're right now going, Johnny, how dare you? Well, I dared. So I'm making some, they call it QuiltCon Couture. So QuiltCon is coming up. And it's going to raise.
Look at that.
Look at that.
And I love
that snazzy?
I
or
love
what?
that you're saving you've repurposed the memories. I mean, that is wow. Okay.
So I got to I think I'm going to do a zipper on this one because I haven't done a zipper before. So there's my future quilt coat. If you'd like to purchase it after I'm done, just reach out. I'd love to sell it to you.
Oh, gorgeous.
I'm going to try selling quilt coats. That's what I'm going to do.
You'd be good.
I have enough quilts.
Yes.
Have enough quilts. All right. Well, that concludes another episode of Quilty Friends.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And we're going to start sewing. Brett has probably 300 squares there.
300. I still need to do 100 more. So
300 denim squares. And he's going to do 100 more. I'm going to start sewing them together.
I'm excited. It's going to be.
Okay, we'll show you as we get along.
We'll show you along.
All right. Thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Be kind, everyone. We appreciate you. Be kind. Be kind.